Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about monk technologies and everything you need to know about them, and also when to pick them up and which ones you should prioritize. This has been a very common request on my live stream on Twitch, and so I figured, you know what, let's give the people what they're asking for. Let's make one video once and for all to talk about these monk technologies. And hey, they just added a new one semi-recently, Devotion, around 3 months ago, so it's the perfect time to talk about these techs. So let's go ahead and just start right into it. We're going to go in order of most important to least important, just to kind of get the good ones out of the way. We'll start in the Castle Age with Sanctity. Sanctity is probably your bread and butter when it comes to monk technologies. This used to cost 120 gold, but now costs 175 gold, and the effect is really simple. It gives monks an extra 15 hit points, so they are harder to kill. Monks getting an extra 15 hit points, extra 15 HP, sounds like a small upgrade to the monks, but it's actually huge. Let's take a look at the implications. Monk starts with 30 HP, gets boosted to 45 HP, which means it survives an extra light cap hit. That is the main purpose of this tech. It also survives an extra eagle hit, which is also really important. Those two units are the most common counters or responses to monks in general, and so Sanctity helping you survive an extra hit could mean the difference between surviving and getting the conversion or just simply dying. It makes your monks harder to snipe, and I would say Sanctity is worth it when you have 3 monks. Instead of going for the 4th one, you could consider going for Sanctity. It also depends what you want to do though. If you want to go for the relics on the side, then more monks is fine, but if you want to push or defend with monks against, you know, some enemy units, maybe a siege push, then Sanctity is definitely good. Another application is that you survive a Mangonel shot. With 30 HP you die. With 45 HP Sanctity in, you survive 1 Mangonel shot, which once again, if you're converting a Mangonel, which we can talk about later, surviving that 1 hit is crucial to landing the conversion. And so Sanctity is your bread and butter monk technology that helps out when you have 3 or more monks. Just pick it up and you'll have a good time with it. Next up, the second most important tech to talk about in Castle Age is Redemption. Redemption, we talked about converting siege, is super crucial. It basically gives the monks the ability to convert all buildings except town centers, castles, monasteries, farms, fish traps, walls, gates, and wonders. The list is quite extensive, but everything else you can convert, including Victorious, by the way. And you can also convert siege weapons. Now, converting siege weapons is a bit tricky. Mangonels, scorpions, and bombard cannons you can convert from a distance. Rams of any kind and trebuchets, you have to be up close and touching them like it was a building to convert them. This is just by balance design, and it makes the game, you know, relatively fair. And Redemption will cost you 475 gold. This technology is really important for 2 things: either pushing with monks to convert their buildings, or on defense to convert mangonels as you're getting pushed in castle. But it also has application in Imperial Age. When you're up against bombard cannons, picking up Redemption is crucial to try to counter those cannons and push them away. So Redemption is a really crucial tech when it comes to big monk war, or when you need monks on defense. So you'll often see me kind of reference Redemption when I consider defensive options for a civ, because it definitely helps and gives you another chance to defend a siege push without needing your own defensive siege. The most common application is, let's say on defense, your opponent is pushing you with knights and siege, right? If you go for your own defensive siege workshop, you bring out a Mangonel, you won't really hit your opponent's Mangonel. He would just dive in with the knight, snipe your Mangonel, and run. But if you bring out like 4 or 5 monks instead of the siege and the Mangonel, you can threaten to convert the Mangonel. If he runs in with the knights, you just convert the knights, and then using those knights you can snipe his Mangonel. So Redemption monks is a lot more resilient to a push when there's multiple units on the field and not just the siege. Alright, those are the 2 big ones in Castle Age, but there's also a few others in Castle that's worth noting. We'll leave Devotion till the end because it's not really a monk technology, it's an anti-monk technology. We'll talk about Fervor next. It basically costs 140 gold and makes your monks move 15% faster. Not much to really give as far as insight for this one. This is just a good upgrade to get if you want to pick up relics that are really far. It pays back pretty fast. Or if you have a bunch of monks and you want to, you know, just have them a little bit easier to micro, so picking up Fervor is nice. There is 1 or 2 applications that make Fervor really good though. When you have Redemption and you want to chase down siege, getting Fervor makes your monk move faster than siege units. So you can chase down siege units really easily with Fervor and land that conversion once you have Redemption. So that is the biggest application for this tech that people don't realize. You pick up Sanctity, so you're tanky. You pick up Redemption, so you convert their siege. And then you pick up Fervor to chase down their siege. So you become an absolute siege hunting demon, whereas before you were just a 30 HP monk with those 3 techs. So definitely a nice tech to pick up. I recommend you get this if you're heavily committed into monks, or if you want to try to get relics that are very far. Next up, we're going to talk about is Atonement in Castlage. It costs 325 gold, and it basically lets you convert enemy monks, whereas before you couldn't. This is a really good upgrade in the situation where it's useful, and otherwise it's completely useless because it's a very niche situation that this would come up. If it's a monk versus monk battle, Atonement is crucial. You need to get this to convert your enemy monks. And if he doesn't have it, he just has to run away or switch to something else entirely. This is most commonly seen on Arena, where it's just going to be a monk battle for relics. If both players commit to multiple monasteries and monks to fight for the relics, then it becomes an all-out fiesta. Both players get Atonement, and it's whoever converts the most amount of monks wins that game. It's very micro-intensive. Costs you 325 gold, and honestly, most of the time you can kind of forget about this, but in the situation where it's monk versus monk, you have to pick this up. Next up, we're going to talk about Heresy and Devotion. These are the two anti-monk technologies in Castlage. Heresy is really simple, but really expensive. It costs 1,000 gold, and it basically makes it so units that are converted by an enemy monk, they die instead of changing to the enemy's color. So instead of like converting the knight to your side, if the enemy has Heresy, if you convert the knight will simply die. This sounds like it's not that good because, you know, you still lose the unit if it gets converted, but it's actually really massive. Heresy is a counter to all-in monk strategies, or it's just good to pick up in late game if your opponent has a hefty amount of monks. If your opponent's all-in monks, they rely on getting conversions and then using your army that they convert as their army. But if you get Heresy, they will convert your units, but no matter how many conversions they get, they are still stuck on only monks. So you see how it can be a hard counter to their main game plan, which is take your units and use them. Now they're just killing your units, which sometimes is not enough. Obviously, there's a hefty price tag associated, 1,000 gold. It's either a Lambo or Heresy. Usually I go with Heresy versus monks, but of course, or else the Lambo gets converted, obviously. But you can see how it has its drawbacks because of the price. But overall, I highly recommend Heresy versus full monk pushes, or in late game, especially in team games, if your opponent has monks and you have like elephants and you're trading, the 1,000 gold is not that big of a deal. Let's talk about Devotion for a second. Devotion is basically just a cheaper version of Faith and the prerequisite of Faith in Imperial Age. Devotion costs 100 food and 200 gold. It got a price increase last patch, so it got slightly nerfed, and it makes it so units are 15% harder for enemy monks to convert. In practice, this makes it so the minimum time is increased by 1 second, and the maximum time is also increased by 1 second. So I think the conversion time, the minimum is 5 seconds in game, and the maximum is 9 seconds, and I think this bumps it to 6 minimum and 10 maximum. Don't quote me on those numbers, I just think that's where we're at. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, but I am sure that Devotion gives +1 minimum and +1 maximum conversion time added to the unit. So it just makes you harder to convert for enemy monks. So this is a nice anti-monk technology. You pick this up if your opponent has 3 or 4 monks in castle. It's a no-brainer. Last tech in Castlage that I left to the end is actually Herbal Medicine. It costs 200 gold, and it makes it so units garrisoned in buildings heal 6 times faster. This is the only technology that has nothing to do with monks in the monastery, and so I left it to the end because it's really not that important for monk play, but it is really important for playing with expensive units, especially mobile ones. Something like a massive Mangadai, a massive Paladin, these high HP, very mobile units. What you can do with Herbal Medicine is run them in, do a lot of damage, raid your opponent's base, and then when they're low HP, and because they're expensive gold units, you don't want to lose them, you send them back to the castle, and normally the castle can heal, but if you pick up Herbal Medicine, it heals 6 times faster. So you bring them into the castle, you heal them up super quick, and then you send them back out to raid. Really cool strategy. For only 200 gold, you can get a lot of value. Highly recommend you use this in the Imperial Age when you have a high value gold unit that can run in and out of engagements. Next up, let's go to Imperial Age, where we have only just 4 more techs to talk about, but these 4 techs are so crucial and are probably the best monk technologies in the game. We're going to start with Illumination, Block Printing, and Theocracy all at once. This is basically your Bracer, Chemistry, and Arbalest equivalent. So normally you get the Imperial Age, you get Bracer, Arbalest, Chemistry if you're playing archers. Here we get, if you're playing monks, we get Illumination, Block Printing, and Theocracy. They're all 3 of them super crucial. So I'll talk about Illumination first. For 120 gold, your monks regain their faith 50% faster after a successful conversion. This is a really cheap technology, and for like 5 monks or more, it gets a lot of value. It basically doubles the amount of monks you have. Like not doubles, but it doubles the value you get out of your monks. And the 50% faster recharge rate is huge. It basically makes it so you get a conversion, and normally your monk is out of the game for a while. Here, that while is basically cut in half, or like 1/4, I guess, which is definitely quite solid, and it's a really cheap cost. So I recommend this when you have a good amount of monks, let's say 5 or more. It's quite cheap. Then you have Block Printing, which is an absolutely beast technology. It's criminal that it only costs 200 gold. You get this if you have 3 monks or more in late game. You just get it. It's so good. If you're planning to play monks, 3 or more, you just get Block Printing. It's so OP. It gives your monks an extra 3 conversion range, and this is where monks start to to get really broken in early Imp, for example, because your opponent cannot play around 12 range monks with most units. Like even Arbalest will get converted. They can't close the gap fast enough. They're gonna get converted and it just gets nasty. It also lets you convert bombard cannons, which is really huge. So block printing is fantastic in late game. It's a no-brainer to pick this one up. And then lastly, Theocracy, also only 200 gold. It makes it so if a group of monks converts an enemy unit, only one of the monks must rest afterwards. So only one of the monks will lose his faith. The rest can keep the juice and keep converting if you get Theocracy. So this is really useful when you have a bunch of monks in late game. And we're human, we're not AI, so we can't spread out our monks perfectly so they each convert one unit. That would be broken and ideal, but we can't do that all the time. So sometimes we just take a group of monks, throw them on 1 or 2 units, and we don't want to lose like 10 monks worth of juice just to convert 2 units. So if you have Theocracy, you use those 10 monks, convert 2 units, and then 8 of them will still have their juice and you can continue converting. It basically makes it easier to manage monks in the late game, and it definitely is worth picking up for just 200 gold. Last but not least, we'll talk about Faith, the last upgrade in the monastery. It's for 550 food and 750 gold. It makes units 50% harder for enemy monks to convert. Like Devotion was +1 minimum, +1 maximum, Faith is another +3 or +4. I think it's another +4 minimum, +4 maximum. Again, don't quote me too much on those numbers. It could be +5. Oh no, it could be +3, but I think it's +4, +4. So if you add it to Devotion, it's +1 from Devotion, which you need to get Faith, and then Faith is another +4, +4 to minimum and maximum conversions. So worth getting this upgrade versus full monks in late game, but otherwise probably not worth getting it. It's a bit too expensive. That's going to do it for all the monk technologies, guys. I covered every single one of them, what they do and when you should get them. Added a little bit of my expert insight as well, which I always like to sprinkle in my videos because let's be honest, anyone can make a video like this if it's just reading out what the texts do. But I want my videos to bring a little bit something a little bit different to the table, something a little bit extra to the table. And so I hope that that is well received from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys learned something about monks today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe. Check me out on Twitch live stream. Check me out on Patreon if you want extra content and extra guides, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.